This is the Art of Imperfect Adulting. I'm your host, Amy Stone. I share stories from real people who have already been through some hard stuff. Why? So that you don't feel alone while you're busy figuring out your own life. Let's do this. Hi, friends. It's Amy, and today, you guys, it's just me, just you and me. It's time for an update. Are you ready? One of the things that's a little bit circular or self-reflective or meta, to use like the word, which just means like of itself, right? About this show and this conversation is that as the host, you and I have this wonderful relationship where we check in with each other and we have a lot of information that goes from me to you and back and forth. But the reality of that situation is also that you and I, most of us don't actually know each other in person. Some of us do, right? The topic of this show, The Art of Imperfect Adulting, is not me, right? It's not a show branded around my life and my instruction. And it's also not a show that is built as a B2B show about building shows, right? So I have a media company business. This is the show, but the topic of this show is transformation, it's personal stories of change. And so here's where that gets weird for me as the creator. Weird as in challenging. Sometimes I feel like it's time for me to give you an update. And also at that time, sometimes I'm not sure if the update really fits, right? Because it's not a show about shows. And so I'm never quite sure how much information you really want about what's going on behind the scenes or in my life. It's an open question, right? There are times when all of this overlaps and I feel like I do need to come in and give like an update. I gave an update at 100 episodes. I gave an update at 200 episodes. Is that right? March was 200 episodes. And so here's another one of them, right? So yeah, the last episode I did that was an update was in March, 200 episodes. There's some cool stuff that's happened. The show is now ranked in the top 3% globally by a company named Listen Notes. Yay! Cue the applause. Set off the confetti. Legitimately, I'm very proud of that. It's been a lot of work. It's great to be acknowledged for the success and the growth of the show. And then I also want to talk kind of candidly about the reality of what that number actually means. This is still a very small show in terms of the landscape of shows. And so to be really public about it, there's a public statistic that is that 99% of all of the watching and listening for YouTube and video shows and audio shows is actually concentrated in the top 1% of shows. So that's a public statistic. My instinct is that it's more savage than that even. I would say that it's probably closer to 99.98% of all audience is probably concentrated in 0.001 of the shows, right? And so the gap between the big shows and the small shows is huge. People refer to it as a moat because it's hard to cross that gap. And that's one of the things that I think about because that's my job, right? So I share that not because I want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't. Like, I love it. It's an enjoyable thing for me to think about and work on as a project. Like, I really do enjoy it. That's why I do the things that I do. But I share it because it's not talked about quite enough publicly and because it is one of the background pieces for one of the decisions that I'm making. I mean, some of the decisions I'm making, let's say. So the decision is that starting next week, the show is going to go to one singular episode released a week on Tuesdays. Here's where I was not sure if anybody would even notice or care, right? To be honest. So there's a huge library of content for the show overall. And it is my professional instinct that the way people consume content is now on demand and not live release. So, back in the day when it was broadcast radio and movies and limited releases in theater, live release schedules were really important, right? And people had to be there. Thursday night TV, like it was a standing thing with me and my friends. But the way people are watching and consuming this show it has boosts because of subscribers when things go live, but the content is always there and it's evergreen. And so I just really don't know how much you guys in the audience care about when and if I adjust the release schedule. In fact, I made a change in 2026. I didn't say anything and nobody gave me any feedback. Anyway, I don't know. So the reason, so I wasn't sure whether or not to even speak up and say that, right? The thing, I guess, the reason I want to talk to you guys about it directly is that when I launched this show and there were a ton of episodes that came out really, really fast, a lot of people did come to me and they were like, hey, wow, what are you doing? This is so prolific. Aren't you afraid you're going to burn out? And anytime anybody asked me that, I was really upfront and I was like, listen, there's white space in my calendar right now, and I have the bandwidth to be able to do that. And I'm trying to answer the question of, how much can we do and how much resources and how fast can I get to these places? Did not gatekeep my decisions for that. Making this change is not because I want to do fewer interviews or release less content. I love that. In fact, if I had the team and the resources, which I would love to, the dream was always to grow this into a daily production. That requires a production team, an editorial team, an advertising team, a revenue budget, all of those things. And I would love to do that. I really, really would. It would be the greatest joy of my life to be able to dedicate to creating these things and releasing them and all of that stuff. I have not grown the revenue and the supporting system to be able to produce content at that level yet. Put my coaching hat on, optimistic, yet. So the truth is that algebra of a schedule, I have the same 24 hours that anybody has. And every day I am making the decisions. What am I going to do with this 24 hours? Also, I'm a creative person. And so I am drawn to new ideas and new projects every minute of every day. Just kidding. But I am. I come up with new ideas. I flesh them out. I like to go down rabbit holes and try new things. That's a part of being a creative person. I think that there's a whole theme of advice for people who are in creative pursuits, which is pick one topic and stick with it forever. Not everybody can do that. I think that those of us who are not like that are sometimes a little bit envious of people who can stick, I'm going to talk about plants for now and ever, or whatever the topic is. But there are some things that I'm always happy to talk about forever and ever. And I also sometimes want to do new things. This schedule change is partially because I have begun to create content on another theme. It's related. But it's not related enough to be mixed in with this same content. So The Art of Imperfect Adulting is a show about personal transformation, personal stories of choices and change. That's what I talk about. Love it. It's my great thing. I'd love to do it, right? The new work that I've been doing is based on and around the business of growing a show or shows, media products, independent media products, visibility, discovery, and growth. Very much from the work that I'm doing on my own, working on this show. So it is related. It's all connected to me and what I'm doing. I even tried mixing them for a while. If you are a person who consumes every single thing that I do, you will have noticed that. And I just came to the conclusion that they don't mix very well. They are separate enough that they deserve to be separated for different audiences because they don't mix, right? What I'm building, are you ready to hear it? Is called Unmuted. I'm calling it Unmuted. This is a nod to two things. Let me tell you how cute this name is. A lot of things are named Unmuted. This is not like I didn't invent anything. But a nod, of course, to the very modern thing that goes on where we're on a call on Google Teams or Zoom or any of your online meeting things, and somebody or yourself are accidentally muted, right? And the whole room is like, you're right, you need to unmute. So that's one piece. The other piece of this is my way of entering the conversation and beginning to talk about the fact that right now, there's no obstacle for people to release media into the world. Anyone can create media. It's amazing. We are not muted. Like you can just put it out there. The challenge in an open marketplace and an open platform like this that I see and that I'm experiencing is that you can put it out there, but the work is in building the audience, being discovered, being found, being visible, creating something that's a viable product. So, the Unmuted Creator Collective, which is what I'm calling it, is built for women creators like me who want to increase visibility, want to increase discoverability, grow their authority, improve their craft, expand and grow market share. Those are the ideas that are pushing this project. And under that concept umbrella, I've come up with a few fantastic things that I'm ready to share with you, right? A creator directory, a creator showcase, which is a video playlist highlighting and spotlighting, showcasing women and their shows in independent media, and a creator roundtable, which is a live stream panel discussion between women creators. So these all exist, like a little bit. It's new, but they all exist, and I can share them with you. One of the reasons I didn't talk about it before is that I didn't have it ready to share. It was just like an idea. I've been talking about the ideas with people. People have been listening. But now there is. So there's links in this description so that if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can discover it. Yay. Super fun. All right. So now let's talk about me if you want to. This is a personal bit. If you hung out all the way through here to the personal bit, and if you want to know about me, this is the part. If you're watching this on YouTube, you may notice that my background looks a little bit different. No matter where you are, you might notice, you might not, that the music for the show has changed. Very fun project. I commissioned an artist to make unique music for the show, custom music for the show, and super fun. Thank you, Todd Thompson, Dharma Studios. Now, the reason that it looks different behind me, if you notice, is because at the end of April, a couple months ago at the time of this releasing, I began to travel. And so I have been recording in a lot of different places, which has been an adventure, a fun adventure. I like adventure. Been in Airbnbs, hotels. Hotels have very iffy Wi-Fi, not a fan. And Airbnbs are spotty too, right? So it's been an adventure. I did not announce it before I went. There's a gap between when I record and when things are released. And so I had a buffer. And I didn't announce it a lot publicly because I just didn't really want to spend a lot of time answering questions about it, to be honest. And along that line, I'm still not sure how much I'm going to talk about this publicly. So I feel like I have a fairly open public profile. I'm not a person who is trying to gatekeep what I'm doing in my life or keep secrets or anything like that. But I'm also not trying to make myself and my decisions in my life the main character of any of the shows that I'm doing. So that's, it's like there would be a personal brand, like, to watch me do this and watch me do that. People who build entire media properties around what they're actually doing. And so then they and what they're doing are the main character of the story. And that's not really what I'm good at or what I like to do. So let me know if that makes sense. And I'm not retooling this to set up a show or a product about, hey, let me take you with me while I travel and run my business. That's not who I am. There are many, many people who do that, just not me. So I'm not sure how much you guys want to know or how much I want to share. This is a question, right? This is a question, but I will give you a little bit of information that feels right at the moment because some of the questions have trickled down to me. And so I will go ahead and share what feels right. Right? So here's the deal, right? I'm 52. The anchors in my life that I have built my life around for the past couple of decades, they've shifted a little bit. And I think that's normal, right? I think that's very, very normal. My parents are gone, right? These are things that happen at different points in everybody's life, but I do not have aging parents of my own to take care of. My kids right now are grown, mostly independent, super cool. And I have this interesting window where I can wander and adventure a bit. And I just kind of decided, all right, let's go. Let's see what happens, right? I have not had a chance to do something like this since I was in my 20s. And it was very, very different at that point because I had to get a job. But I've decided to take this opportunity and see what happens. I mean, for 30 years, you guys, 30 years, my entire focus has been around home, family, security, all of that stuff. I don't regret it for a second. But adventure has also always been a part of who I am. And if you only knew me for the past couple of years or when I was very centered on my family and the house, you may not have known that. But I mean, I moved to Miami knowing one person because I was invited. As soon as my kids were able to fly long haul, I took them with me on adventures to do things like watch me do Ironman France, and so this adventuring and this whimsy and this exploration, for me experiencing it, it just feels like a part of who I am. And it has filtered down to me. At least one person in my life described this as being kind of a weird thing to do, and they didn't understand it. And that's okay, right? Because I'm not living my life according to making it into something that's easy for somebody else to understand. Like, that's not the filter for me of making my decisions. I'm just going to say a little tiny bit about this. I have so much to say about this and so many ideas, but it is a topic that is, it goes off on a rabbit hole down the way. I have observed, and I've had several conversations on the show about this, that when women make big changes and decisions in midlife, there is a portion of the world that always has one ready example, explanation to come at them with. And that is that they blame it on the biology of being a woman, the things that make our bodies work so that we can keep humanity going. And when you're in your 50s, that becomes perimenopause and menopause, right? So I have a lot of thoughts about this. You are welcome to ask me about them if you want. I might answer you. I might make a joke. I might do both, right? Let me know. But I am just going to say this because I can't keep my mouth shut. It's not something I'm very good at. Not always doing me any favors. Not every decision that a woman makes at any point in her life, but definitely in midlife and in her 50s, 40s, 50s, is exclusively probably because of hormones, right? It is a scapegoat of an answer that in my lifetime, when I look back at it, really, 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 you have to be careful. It's so often done to try and silence and control the behavior of women. And that's the reason I'm talking about this, right? So it's a thing that is so just omnipresent in the culture of the United States that it shows up in movies, it shows up in TV shows, people make jokes about it. Right now, there are influencers online who are men who are putting on wigs, making fun of women's behavior as an advertisement for a hormone replacement therapy. I am reminded of the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, where it's a funny scene, but a woman is behaving very spiritedly, and another woman's like, hey, maybe you need hormones, right? And then there's a follow-up where she's like, how many of those hormones are you taking? Anyway, it is amazing that right now, Gen X women, millennials, Gen Z, they're forcing the conversation to include women's health in a spotlighted way, bringing these conversations for the entire cycle of women's health into the spotlight. That is an amazing thing. It's needed. It's very beneficial. It's very, very good. And on that thread, for most of my adult life, HRT was black labeled, and we were told it was dangerous. And they've walked that back in the United States, which has now led to a lot of people using it and having wonderful results. And that's also fantastic. Really, really good. Some of the science seems to point to the fact that the dip in estrogen that we experience in menopause, probably also the rise when we experience during puberty, is connected to getting women to want to do the work of caregiving, right? And it's really interesting to live through that, to experience it, to make choices, right? So when I was young, I said I was never going to have kids. Then I changed my mind. I had kids, dove right in, did all the work, made all those decisions, right? Was that hormonally driven? I have no idea, but so on and so forth. So we've swung the other way. It feels to me like hormone replacement therapy has become very popular. Hormone replacement therapy, in my own experience, can be very beneficial. Like, I'm not poo-pooing this at all. The thing that I want to talk about, though, is that there are some times where people are suggesting that women should use HRT and hormone replacement therapy to change their behavior. And that, you guys, that sets off my internal warning flags, right? So if I'm traveling and people are like, oh, wow, that's a real knee-jerk thing. Maybe you should, check into whether or not you're going through menopause. That's an inappropriate conversation, right? First of all. But to suggest that women should medicate themselves so that they would be less vocal, less passionate, less angry, that sets off my warning flags. More docile, right? I think there's a question there, right? So yeah, the science does point to this hormone being related to making decisions and being willing to do the work of caregiving. But does that mean that when the biology of women shifts and that hormone dips, that we should be medicated back to that point? And if we do that, why? Whose benefit is that? Is where my mind goes, right? So I bring this up under the context of me making this decision and being given some of that feedback, right? There are a lot of horrific historical stories about people using medicine and science to silence and control women historically. It's scary stuff. And so I just wanted to raise it as a point of discussion. Is it good? Is it beneficial? Sure, it definitely can be, right? But do we want to be careful that we're not telling other women or allowing other people to speak for us that this is something that should be changed? I think that's a question. I really, really do. All right. So anyway, that's the update. That's all for now. Got sort of super serious and me on there. Apologize for that if it was too much. Anyway, we'll see who sticks to it, right? That's all for now. New episodes of The Art of Imperfect Adulting will be dropping on Tuesdays starting next week. I'll be back next week with a new episode. This is Amy Stone signing off. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Before I go, I want to encourage you to become a bigger part of the conversation. Please subscribe wherever you're listening or watching the show. That helps my stats. A request from the bottom of my indie creator heart is to please tell your friends about the show. That is the real way new people discover it. If you feel motivated, I would love it if you rated the show or wrote a review on whatever platform you are using. Please be sure to head over to imperfectadulting.com and sign up for the email community. I call this The Village. You'll get some free stuff right away, and you'll begin to get the weekly emails that I send. This includes the links for special offers from any guests on the show and cool stuff I put together for the community. There's a lot more going on than just this show, and the only way to find out is to get the emails. Plus, you're busy. You don't have time or desire to follow every single tidbit on social media, and you don't have to because I'm happy to send it to you. If you have a story you'd like to share with the audience, I have an open application for guests. Guess where you'll find it? That's right, on the website and in the emails. And that's a wrap for this episode. Until next time, remember that the journey is the destination. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that, not me. Well, until just now. I did just say it. But what I want you to hear today is that if your adulting journey isn't going the way you expected, that just may not mean you're lost. It may mean that you're just on your way. And now, the fine print. The Art of Imperfect Adulting podcast and streaming video show is a copyrighted work created and produced by Amy Stone and Amy Says So. The music was written and produced by Todd Thompson at Dharma Bomb Studios. All rights are reserved. Anything expressed on this show is offered as entertainment, and the views of the guests may not always represent the ideas and viewpoints of the host. That's me. Amy Stone does not intend to hold herself out to provide professional advice or recommendations of any kind. In the end, you and you alone need to make those kinds of decisions based on your personal and individual situation, needs, circumstances, and comfort level. Yeah, it's a little weird for me to talk about myself in the third person, but you get the idea. This is Amy Stone, signing off.